All right. Here we are, closing in on the first anniversary of the Cairo Chronicle. Well done to us. And thank you all to our listeners, because we've nearly clicked off 6,000 downloads, and that's fantastic. The total audience for the Cairo Chronicle now is closing in on 10,000, which by international standards might not seem like a great deal, but by New Zealand standards, that's fucking awesome. And if you think about that, there's 10,000 people, reading, listening, supporting the Cairo Chronicle. And while I'm on supporting the Cairo Chronicle, please remember, we are hemorrhaging money, and it's costly to produce this content. So thank you everyone that does support us on Patreon. A couple of dollars a month can make a huge difference, or you can make a modest donation at buymeacoffee.com. Now, while we've got that out of the way, before I introduce our guest, who I'm really delighted to have in the studio with us this afternoon, my co-host, intern, my assistant, my right arm, has some exciting news. Sarah.
I got a scholarship to go to Germany. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about.
Wow. Unless there's any other exciting news.
Nah, not even.
So what's that about? Because you're studying at Auckland University.
Yeah.
Political
German's
studies.
it's like the second major of one of my degrees that I'm studying. So yeah, I applied back in August for a scholarship to study in Germany, and I'll go in January. So it's a pretty small turnaround. I've got like a month to prepare things, like flights and things. But
do you need anything? Is there anything where you can reach out to our audience and say, please help Sarah out with a translation? Money.
Just money.
Money. We all need some money.
Yeah, I'm going to be hustling these next few weeks.
If there's not motivation enough for you to support us, we'll make sure that whatever we do get between now and when Sarah goes, we'll make sure we put some of that into her pocket.
Thanks.
Now, when I was homeless, it was pretty distressing for me at times, and I think what people don't realise about being homeless is it's exceptionally emotionally and mentally exhausting. The physical fatigue is nothing compared to the mental trauma that you have to try to cope with on a daily basis. And, this leads a lot of people who are marginalised and rough sleeping to crimes that are basically attributable to their situation rather than their character. Now, I was fortunate when I got in trouble to be nominated to the homeless court, which I knew nothing about. Now, my guest here today is Carmel. She was not involved with the homeless court at that time, but I just, you think of court as a traumatizing, humiliating, and desperate situation, but you know what? For me, it was the turning point, and I met some amazing people. Wendy from the Auckland City Mission, for example, who just pulled out all the stops to help me. And that was really the difference that allowed the Chronicle to exist. Now, Carmel came to me a couple of months ago and said, Six, you're aware of the awesome work of the court. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. I said, yes, of course I am. She expressed concern that, maybe not enough people know about the good works of the court. So we've made a commitment to Carmel, to the whole team at the Auckland City Courts, to highlight some of the good work that goes on, and hopefully we can build some support. So, but I won't rattle on for too much longer. Carmel, please introduce yourself to the wider audience.
Kia ora, ko Carmel taku ingoa, kei te mari ahau, te kore o timitanga hau me te whakaora, te ope whakaora. So thank you for having me here today. Six and Sarah, congratulations Sarah. Exciting things ahead for you. And thank you Six for the opportunity to come today to speak with you. For me it's not just about letting people know about the work being done, the mahi and the court, Te Kore o Timitanga Hau, which translates to the Court of New Beginnings. It's about letting the people who perhaps could benefit from accessing the resources available in our court rather than continuing the cycle from the street to prison, back into court, out into the street to prison, so that I guess the people who need to know about the court are the people out there who are being subjected to the that pointless cycle of recidivism.
Turn your phone off, Six.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Poor form. So carry on. It's about
just making sure that people are aware about the court as an option. So if you're if you're someone who's continually getting in strife with the police and the courts, and you're someone who actually needs a bit of a hand up, needs to get a bit of support through getting your life sorted out, Te Kore o Timitanga Hau is a much better option for you than a traditional court system.
And the success rate speaks for itself.
Well, it does. We obviously not everybody who comes through the court graduates or does quite as well as you did, Six. But we had a look at the stats the other day, and Judge Fitzgerald, who is the judge who sat on the court since its inception.
Amazing guy.
Years.
I wish he was my dad.
Yeah, he's a wonderful man. A huge amount of compassion and understanding of the circumstances behind a lot of offenders.
And he's just got such a kind of gentle demeanour about him.
Yeah, but make no mistake about it. He's strong and straight down the line when he needs to be. So it's not necessarily a soft option to come into our court, but it does operate very differently. We're not so much focused on punishment. We're focused on addressing the circumstances behind a person's offending, looking a bit deeper. What is it that got you into the situation that you're in now, and what can be done to try and, as I said, break that cycle of offending, and that when you get into that loop of criminality, alcohol and drug addiction, instability of housing, fractured relationships with the people that you love and care about, it's very easy to get stuck there. And as you said, that when you're caught in that cycle, when you don't have I guess the energy to think beyond how do I survive today, or how do I get through the next hour, how do I keep myself safe.
There's no planning. It's like you get up, and the immediate problems you have to solve. Where's the nearest bathroom? Yeah. Where can I get breakfast from? Yeah. Get something to eat from.
So everything you do pretty much is reactionary. So you end up feeling really powerless because you have no control over the direction of your life.
And because of the lifestyle that you're leading, whether you're using narcotics or not, when you're rough sleeping, you never get that proper REM sleep that you need. So you're constantly in this state of drowsiness. So it becomes exponentially difficult to cope with just things that we as just take for granted. Like putting on clean clothes in the morning.
There's nothing to do how smart someone is, it's just when that creative space in the brain is shut down because you're having to deal with sort of the basics of survival. It's just too much to expect people to get to appointments on time, to organise their life, to follow a schedule. From my own experience, I can remember times in my life when I was drinking and using. I didn't know what day it was, man. You know,
Days just kind of blend
But
into each other.
yeah. So
Some days you're not sure if it's dawn or sunset.
so what we try and do is we kind of try and, I guess, walk in the shoes of the people who come into our court, and it's kind of what I try and do in my mahi, and organise things or try and structure things so that people can access those supports and access support people who can kind of, I guess, hold that structure and the bureaucratic side of things while that person kind of starts to connect. So first and foremost, just about establishing a relationship. For someone who doesn't have a phone, it can be very tricky saying, well, you've got an appointment at such and such a time to see someone at this organisation, at this address. So what I try and do is say, well, look, hey, I'm at the Auckland District Court, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, during the day. Pop up and see me, you know. And occasionally people will, that's kind of the inroad, and they can walk up to the mission, or if they're...
You mentioned your own battles with consumption. Can you tell us a little bit more about your path to this point? So, because you're not somebody, not one of these do-gooders that did a 12-month counselling paper and now you're, I mean, it's to be, I mean, for somebody that once ran as an act politician,
I knew you would bring that up, Six. I just knew it.
Wow, I was really surprised. It's you seem more left of than most people, and yet. And obviously I want to ask you about ACT's policy on getting tough on crime. I mean,
one topic at a time.
One topic at a time.
Yeah.
That's my strategy. Overwhelm you.
How did you get into the court? How did
I find myself in the role?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's my life story. It's not a kind of a nice linear.
The most interesting people aren't.
Yeah, so I've look, I had every resource available to me as a young person. Stable family, did really well at school. All over the place. I was born in Dunedin.
Oh, sorry.
It's a lovely place. Yeah. My parents were quite nomadic, so we travelled around a lot. I went to schools. I went to 13 different schools, actually, so I had interesting experience as a child.
How did you find that? Because I remember I switched high schools in third form, and I was it just really threw me into a funk. There was new curriculum. Basically, my parents had decided to move from New Zealand to Australia. Our education systems are so different that I was put up a year, and I just, I had no idea what the hell was going on.
I didn't like school much. I'm very much a self-learner, so I was always the new girl.
What's your highest qualification?
I've got a Bachelor of Laws. I've also got a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science and English.
Oh, what is it with you people and your double degrees?
Well, there's a story.
Stop overachieving.
There's a story behind that. I graduated from University of Canterbury with a BA and came up to Auckland hoping to get into the School of Journalism postgrad course, the thing I think you did, and they didn't want me. So
they didn't want me at first.
Yeah,
I just turned up and said, "I'm here. I'm staying."
Oh, that was a good strategy because the next thing I did was I enrolled at Auckland Law School and started going to classes and whatever, and then was called into the dean at one stage because I wasn't officially ever entered. So I was doing okay, so they let me stay. So the law degree came by default.
If you're out there and you can't afford to go to university, just loiter around. Just go into the lectures. Nobody knows what's going on half the time anyway. And honestly, at least it's great entertainment. Honestly, I could listen to... We had this amazing sociology lecturer, and he just brought the subject to life in a way that you could really relate to. And like we had people gate crashing his lectures, but at that stage they don't care.
No, but yeah. So the law thing was never really a conscious, well thought out career path. And when I got out there and started, doing the stuff, the trotting around with the little black suit and the briefcase, I thought I was pretty hot stuff for a while, but it didn't really
So
do
were you
much for
admitted
me.
to the bar?
Oh yeah. I practiced civil litigation and for a while, and but yeah, it was never really my thing. To be honest with myself, it wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
I was bound for something else.
So what exactly is because you're not employed by the court, are you? You're associated with the Salvation Army, is that right?
Yeah, so my position is funded by the Salvation Army, though it is a Ministry of Justice position, so it's contracted out. The reason for that is that Te Koreo Tamatangaho is very under-resourced. So all of the mahi by our key workers involved with the court, who work alongside our participants and come to the monthly pre-court hui in the afternoon sitting, that's actually all just additional work on top of their existing workload.
Right.
The solicitors that act for our participants, once they're formally entered into the court, are from the Auckland Community Law Centre. Again, because legal aid doesn't cover appearances in Te Koreo Tamatangaho, so we kind of, we're...
So my lawyer wasn't paid when they represented me?
They're paid up until the time you are formally entered into the court, and then your file is handed over to the Auckland Community Law staff.
Right.
Yeah, so, yeah.
What gets you motivated? I mean, you must see and deal with a lot of depressing situations. And, it must be easy sometimes to go, bloody hell, it's all too hard. What keeps you going?
Well, firstly, I'm really grateful to have a job. It's a long period of time in my life where I was unemployable. So I'm part of my recovery. I've been in recovery 15 years now, is getting up every day in that discipline of going to work. But I also get tremendous fulfillment in seeing, I describe them as the small miracles that can happen at the coalface. And to stop being overwhelmed by the tsunami of need out there, and it's just enormous, and it just seems to be growing, and the backlash from, the political narrative and the inner city residents who don't like to see the homeless in the street and want them moved on. That it is huge. If you focus on that enormity, you will become overwhelmed. So what I do, I focus on the little things, on the small wins. So if someone who's been disengaged and no one can find them, if they happen to turn up and knock on my door and say, I want to come in and have a chat, that's to me, that's huge. That's one. So celebrate that. Someone in our court gets into a whare of their own safe place. First time maybe sometimes in their whole life they've had somewhere of their own. Huge one. It's a huge one. Just seeing people who come in, close down, shut down, their defences are just like brick walls, and slowly the bricks kind of start falling out. You get those little chinks, you'll get a smile, you'll get a bit of laughter, you'll get a shared joke. Those little, I guess, they're the glimpses of light that if you focus on, they'll keep you going. Yeah. Every now and again I do get a bit fed up, and I don't get fed up with our participants. Never. I get fed up with bureaucracy. 6, I get fed up with, you see, I guess I've got to be a little bit cautious here about what I say. Cause,
we can't edit anything out.
Yeah, but...
I mean, we edited that bit we said about Dan, remember that? Fuck Dan, man, have you heard that? Oh.
Yeah, because, I'm aware that I have a sort of you got to be careful about what you say, because it's a Ministry of Justice position funded by an organisation.
We don't want to be held liable for libel or defamation or anything like that either. And the role of the Chronicle is not to embarrass people. No. We don't even have an opinion.
No.
We remain objective, and the driving philosophy of the Chronicle products, the paper, the show, everything we do, is not about me, it's not about Sarah or Dan.
No.
It's about you. It's about our audience. And, I was motivated to start this project because these are people, the people in the homeless court, the people that are marginalised, struggling artists, our people that don't really get well represented in the media. So
they have no voice.
No voice.
So you won't. We've got Auckland Council councillors at the moment talking about getting tough around regulatory bylaw and bringing in trespass powers for people in public, to move people on from public places.
I don't like begging. I do not see any reason in this country for begging, and that was part of the motivation for the Chronicle as well, to offer the street people an alternative to begging, similar to the big issue done overseas. But before we can ban begging or discourage begging, you've got to create opportunities.
Well, you've also got to make sure that people have access to the resources that are available out there. And the thing is, and this is getting back to my original point, which I kind of deviated from, which is...
we do that all the time.
Yeah.
We're deviates.
Okay. The resources, the organisations, the fancy websites, they're all out there, right? Okay? It's all out there. But what I see, and I haven't been in this job all that long, but...
How long have you been in it?
About 15, 16 months.
But you've been training all your life?
I sort of feel like I have, yeah. Okay, so we've got all these things, right? You've got a benefit, you can go on social housing register, you can get into counselling, you can do this, you can do that. Right? Yeah, wonderful. I challenge anyone to actually, when you have nothing, when you don't have an ID, when you don't have a phone, when you don't have an address, when you don't have an email address, try doing those things. Try actually just getting your foot in the door. Because I've tried to facilitate it on behalf of other people. I'm pretty tenacious. But the closed doors, the unreturned phone calls, the emails that go unanswered. What the heck?
I was recently trying to help a friend of mine get a flat. He had the money to pay for the bond. He didn't need to get work and income assistance. Looked at this nice little place on Howe Street. It would have been suitable for him. And said to the real estate agent, look, my mate's keen on this property. Could he apply? Could we have an application? And she's like, apply online. And I on it, for the love of God, I must have spent an hour on the web page trying to figure out. And I emailed people, and nobody emails you back.
No, you can't talk to a human.
Can't talk to a freaking human.
Right. Do everything online. That's my big bugbear. You cannot move to a digital world without leaving people behind. And that's happening more and more. And this concept of a cashless society...
It's basically here.
What the heck? How are people going to... Of course they're going to shoplift if they can't use their cash.
Six, what was the impact of this court for you? Have you ever been through the normal court system, and what was the difference?
The evidence I may incriminate myself.
You do that all the time.
Clean slated by now.
We all know.
I've been through the court system 5 times, and 4 out of those 5 times I've been discharged without conviction. But the first time I was arrested was for possession of an offensive weapon, which was an ASB baton, which if you're not familiar with, an ASB baton is a small baton that you can pretty much fit in your pocket, and with a simple flick of the wrist it extends to about 1/2 metre, and is quite a formidable steel bar, basically. So I successfully used this steel bar to defend myself against 2 gang members who jumped me on the street. Fucking tough cunts. They called the police. What kind of mobsters are they? And then they're bitching and moaning, fucking little poofter fucking beat me up. It's like, dude. And then the cop goes, why are you carrying a weapon? I'm like, bro, you've got a taser, you've got a baton, and you've got guns in your car. And you're asking me why I'm carrying weapons? You know the difference between the police and Uber? Uber turn up. Anyway.
I thought you meant ASB. I thought it was a thing to get it into your bank account. Auckland Savings Bank. Oh. ASB pen.
Yeah. No.
So, yeah, what was your interaction with
the court?
the court in the beginnings is where we're at.
Yeah. You're 5 out of 6 discharged without a conviction. That's pretty good. That's a good roll.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm popular at the conversation at the police department. That fucking asshole.
5 out of 6 times.
I'll tell you this funny story. Right? It's
Did you do the lipstick on a
yes.
window? I did that too.
Wasted a bloody good lipstick.
I know. It was satisfying at the time, though.
I'll tell you another lipsticks. Lipstick's a great revenge weapon. I was still sleeping on the street, and one of the street girls had it was a rainy, horrible night, and we were sleeping out the front of Lifewise Cafe, and I had, I was in my sleeping bag, and I had like a poncho over the top of me to give me an extra protection for the rain. So anyway, a friend of mine snuggles up next to me. We're quite happily asleep. There is one thing about when you're on the street and you've got the right gear and you're comfortable and the world around you is going to hell in a teacup and you're comfy and warm and there's kind of a certain smug satisfaction in that. So anyway, sound asleep, get a light shining in my eye and wake up and it's the policeman going, what are you doing? And it's like, well, a second ago I was fucking asleep. And he goes, oh, we're just checking up on you. You're out here on the street. It's like, are all the homeless people getting this special attention tonight or am I special? And anyway, the girl that I was with, she was like, are we under arrest? And he's like, not yet. The arrogance. No wonder people hate cops.
There are some nice ones, to be fair.
There
are six. There are some nice police out there.
Nah, once you put that uniform on, there's something that changes. You're no longer a part of the human species.
Oh, I don't know. I think that's a bit of it. Though, having said that,
it's low-paid, low-skilled work. So anyway, the girl I was with, she gets up and she trots off, and so the policemen decide that they're going to go and follow her. So I'm left alone, and I'm fuming. I'm really angry because I was in a nice sleep, and I was in one of those mischievous moods, and I got my lipstick out, and the police car was parked right out the front. Got my lipstick out, and I wrote a derogatory word for female genitalia on large letters on the police car window. Now, if you're not familiar with lipstick, it does not come off that easily. And if you wipe with the window wipers, you get big smear marks. So anyway, I'm lying in bed. I put myself back in bed. I'm giggling away like a naughty little school kid. And the police come along and go, did you do this? I'm like, did I do what? I don't know what you're talking about, officer. But they couldn't find any evidence, so they should have realised I was wearing the same shade of lipstick. Anyway, when you're down on your luck and you're struggling to figure out how you got in this position, so you tend to, I think it's probably a very New Zealand attitude. I got myself in this, I'll get myself out of it. and that's probably comes from our colonial heritage. But you know what? Take the help that's available to you, even if you don't think that you need that specific help. Just surrender to the process. There's no point in fighting it. All you're going to do is undermine your efforts and everybody else's efforts. Once you're there, own your shit. We all make mistakes, and that's okay to make mistakes because that's how we learn. What's not okay is to continue to blame the world for your problems.
And you asked me earlier about my association with the ACT Party, so I'm going to loop back to that.
Yeah.
Good segue.
Good loop.
That
Segue.
concept of self-responsibility. So when people come in to see me, part of my role is to assess them for suitability to come into our court. So we only take 10 participants at a time because the court only sits half a day a month. It's all that's the limit of who we can cope with. So when they come in, I spend about 45 minutes to an hour with them. And yeah, we go through and we took all the facts that we need to know. But what I need to know is whether or not they are willing to change.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, a person cannot change unless they're prepared to really look at themselves, acknowledge their part in the disaster they might have made of their life, acknowledge what they've done, and look to do things differently. And it's not easy to do, and
No.
I know because I had to do it myself, and it takes you have to crumble down. Any sense of ego you ever had about yourself, you have to lose any sense of, I'm this wonderful person that can do this, do that, whatever. Things like addiction can bring anybody, anywhere. It will take anybody to the gutter, and you have to start from ground zero and relearn everything about yourself and the way you operate in this world. That's what I had to do.
Yeah.
I wrecked my life. I wrecked it. I had everything.
Been there, doll. Got the t-shirt.
And, I ended up with nothing of value. Nothing. Police had me labelled as a crack whore. And not because necessarily I was on it. I was just crazy as a loon. So I kept getting picked up in the middle of the night. Taken home.
You know what else? I would just add that because we're getting close to our end. But, you have to forgive yourself too. I've done some truly awful things in my life.
Yeah.
That, I have to acknowledge that I did them, but I also have to forgive myself. There's I'm not a religious person, but for an agnostic, I do like quoting the Bible. And I think it was Jesus Christ that said, "Forgive me of my trespasses, as I forgive those who trespass upon me." And that's profound, because we all fuck up. Yeah. We all make mistakes, and we all offend people, and we all fall out with good friends. But unless you're able to forgive other people of their wrongdoings and their mistakes, how can you ever expect somebody to forgive you of yours? And it's just part of the human condition that from time to time we make bad decisions.
Yeah.
We do shit things.
And we continue to do that even in recovery, and even when you've kind of got your life sorted out.
We repeat those patterns.
Yeah, and you still make mistakes. And I guess you asked me earlier about what drives me, what gets me out of it, what keeps me passionate and really loving this role, is that it enables me to get up and make amends every day, for the enormity of the grief that I caused my parents, to this day. The confusion in their eyes, their perfect daughter who was their shining star.
Yeah.
And here she was, this the bewilderment, and knowing that I caused that pain. 15 years later, it still gets me,
I had a friend once when I was going through some hard times, and Carl Majori, if you're out there, I remember this. He said to me, the further you fall, the higher you bounce.
It's a nice way of putting it.
And and just want to finish on this note, that you can't always change, you can't change your past. That's true. But what you can do is change your perception of it. Like, for a long time, I was really bitter and angry at the hardships that I felt were forced upon me as a child. I remember, I was 7 or 8 years old, sleeping in the garden shed so Mum could rent out my room to college students. And for a long time, I was really angry about that, and I blamed Mum. But you know what? Now I look back at that, I think, what a cool kid. I had an opportunity to help my family out. I was still fed. I was still loved. I still went to school every day with a lunchbox. Mum was, not shy to give us a slap around the ears, but that was the 70s. That was normal.
Yeah.
She never, abused us to the point that we were, Anyway.
But the thing is, isn't it? I had a really promising future and probably could have done anything in my life, and I've lost a couple of decades faffing around. But what I do now is I try to do the small things well, Six, and that's enough. That's enough.
The thing is, all that shit that you went through brought you to this point. And the past doesn't exist.
No.
All the past is a memory, a caption on Facebook, a photo in an album, a memory, nothing. It doesn't exist. The future doesn't exist. It's a hollow promise that will one day fail. There has ever been only now. Life is a series of nows, and if you can find the time to enjoy and be in the moment, you'll find true happiness. That's my advice for the day. Sarah, any final words?
Nothing particularly, but thank you so much for coming here today and taking time out of your schedule to come here. Do you have any final words or messages for?
I just say the final word is and I know it's a bit of a trait that it was the kindness of complete strangers that set me on my path and got me where I am today.
We can change the world with one small act of kindness.
One small act of kindness at a time.
We create a virus of kindness.
Exactly.
Look, it's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege to have you on the show today, Carmel. And in future episodes, we're hoping to bring some of the participants of the homeless court and share their stories with us, because, so often these stories are about hope and resilience and recovery. And, the one thing that keeps coming back over and over again with the Cairo Chronicle is our need, our craving, our yearning, our desire to be a part of a community. Otherwise, if you don't want to be a part of a community, go and live in a dock hut. So we got a lot of healing still to do in this country, and we got 3 years of a new direction, good or bad, but I think love will get us through it. My heart goes out to Palestine. Just want to do that at the moment. It's a heartbreaking situation. Thank you to all my sponsors. Take care out there, and look forward to the anniversary episode coming up shortly, which we're doing live. Thank you very much.
Work.
Thank you.
Too kind. Stop it. Sit down. No, please, sit down.
More.